Good evening, everyone. Merch Hunter Ricky back. Tonight we're going to talk about Dia De Los Muertos. That would be a Mexican holiday basically celebrating the lives of people who have passed away in your lifetime. Your grandparents, your best friend. Those are kind of the reasons why I started celebrating, for my own reasons. And I always wondered if someone like Luffy were to find out about a holiday like this, because I assume it is in One Piece because we have the Kingdom of the Dead with King Taco. So, let's remove pleasantries for that one and just say that they do celebrate it, right? I would say that Luffy would be hype as hell to celebrate this holiday because it's really chill. My wife and I, we just light some candles, turn all the lights off, get some pictures of our passed away loved ones, and she makes the pan de muerto. It's a really sweet and awesome bread. You leave it out as an offering and you can eat alongside them, If you were to have someone like Brook with you, maybe he could communicate with the spirit of the underworld. And I think that would be a really cool little concept. But going into this video's full theme, what would Luffy do during Dia de los Muertos? Not just Luffy, but all of the Straw Hats. I would like to say that aside from lighting some candles, I think Luffy specifically would need a little bit of time alone. I don't know if he's ready to mourn Ace in front of everyone the way he probably will end up mourning Ace if we ever get a scene like that again. I'm certain he would just break down hardcore, but maybe a manly breakdown, he's crying but he looks up like, I'm stronger now, Ace. Some shit like that. But it's just something I liked Ace. I have an older brother, and when Ace died, that was the first thing I thought of. I'd be very mad if I went through all of Impel Down just for my bro to get murked by someone else, through all of that. Regardless of the decision that caused the person to get murked, I would just be sad if I lost my brother, right? Hey, even in fan letters, they talked about a guy who almost lost his brother, and he almost lost his own life. That dude got crushed by an iceberg in a ship. That was scary. Anyways, Luffy and Ace were amazing, and the only time we really get to see them do cool stuff, unfortunately, was during Marineford. So there was a little bit of tension. You're happy that they're escaped, but that this doesn't end well. There's not a soul alive that thought Ace was leaving Marineford. Maybe except me when I was younger, when I was reading it when those chapters were still actually coming out. I came into One Piece when One Piece was still at Water 7. Those were the most recent chapters. It kind of blows my mind thinking about it, now I'm 32. But I think Luffy remembering Ace on this day, sorry for the multiple tangents. This is actually what Dia de los Muertos is about. Drop some comments below if you celebrate it, or maybe this video makes you want to try and celebrate it. But get those candles lit, grab something sweet, pour out a couple brews for your fallen ones, and really just reflect on the impact they had in your life. Think about Ace. The real impact that he had on Luffy's life is giving Luffy the most hardcore resolve ever, because Luffy already had Conqueror's Haki in him, but he unlocked it on behalf of Ace. It's undisputable. Watch Marineford, if you will, right? But unlocking it to protect Ace shows something about Luffy. Then again, when he fought Horty Jones and he did Red Hawk for the first time, that's fucking crazy. And he did that again thinking of Ace, but also thinking of what it is to just move forward. If you think about it from that perspective, it's a little bit less brutal when you rewatch the scene where Luffy just tells Thomas straight up Ace is dead. I wanted to bring that up and I didn't have a good segue, so I just dove you right into it. I wanted to talk about that because I think if Luffy was celebrating Dia de los Muertos, he would apologize to Tama for that, right? I would hope that he would light a candle, and I think if there was any closure in One Piece that I would really like is Luffy and Tama sitting side by side, drinking some hot cocoa or something and talking about Ace. Maybe Yamato is there too, right? Maybe some remaining Whitebeard pirates. But all in all, I think Luffy remembering Ace would be something that all the fans would really like, and not just hear little flashbacks here and there. Like, I want to see a Luffy reminiscing in the present moment on what it feels like to have lost Ace and gotten this far, maybe even after attaining the One Piece. To keep talking about someone else who Luffy would mourn, I would say Luffy and Sanji and Carrot would have a moment of mourning for Pedro. Obviously, everyone is going to feel pain. Chopper and Brook, of course, they were there. But, like, I really feel like Luffy... You know, Luffy brought up Pedro while he fought Kaido. I can only imagine Kaido's confusion. Like, you know, he's getting his ass rocked, and then Luffy goes into Gear 5th again, and he's, you know, talking about Kinemon, Tama, Toko, or, I'm sorry, I don't think her name is Toko. It is Toko, right? Yeah. Kinemon, Tama, Toko, and the last name he utters before going into the Gear 5, he's like, Pedro. I'm sure Kaido was like, all right, I abused the other people, but who's Pedro? Did I do something to him? And then, you know, next thing you know, he is getting the filthy 1s and 2s by Gear 5 Luffy. But Luffy watched Pedro do something that I don't think Luffy has ever experienced before. I don't think any of the Straw Hats had seen something like that yet, right? Maybe Jinbei in a story that we don't know. But Pedro's death hurts a lot. That was like the character I assumed would be the next Straw Hat, if not Carrot. And I was not ready. Like, I read that raw. I read that without knowing anything about Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island. Like, I had caught up to One Piece after years of not watching it. The last chapters I read serialized were Fishman Island. And then I stopped. I fizzled out right when they hit Punk Hazard. Years later, I would get back into it. But anyways, when I read Pedro's death, I genuinely like put my phone down because I was reading it on Shonen Jump's app. I slammed my phone into my mattress and I just sat there like, this better be a Pell moment. Chapters go by, it's not a Pell moment. I was hurt. The lamentation that they show with Chopper, Brook, and Carrot and Sanji later on, oh damn, I was not ready for that, especially the anime version of that. That shit hurts. And it's crazy because I can't find a damn Pedro figurine for the life of me. That's one of the few things I wish I had in this collection, is a Pedro figurine, right? But what I liked about Pedro, you know what? I'm going to hold Inuarashi. Damn, you know what? I might have to get some fan art of potential Sulong Pedro. That would have been really cool. I really liked Pedro. It hurt when he killed himself because, you know, he only had one option to do that, and Oda really timed an impactful whammy perfectly. I mean, the whole circumstances of being cornered by Perospero, Big Mom, the whole Big Mom army, then the ambush on top of the Straw Hat ship, like inside of the Straw Hat ship itself from the Mirror World. The rock in a hard place situation, and then Pedro just looks at Carrot and, you know, what he says, how it goes down. It's crazy. If I repeat the lines, I'll cry. I love Pedro so much. But someone who had such brilliant resolve, and you find out that he was spoken to by Roger, it's like the line of the people that knew they had to sacrifice themselves to get Luffy to that point, astounding, you know? At the risk of making this a Luffy-oriented video, let's move topics now from our boys Pedro and Ace, two very, very awesome and really hardcore deaths in the series. Let's switch topics now to someone who I do have a figurine of. Life with a Gusto, Tom, the shipwright, the famous shipwright of the Oro Jackson, the ship that would sail the Roger Pirates to the One Piece. Tom's story is brutal, and Frankie is my favorite character in One Piece. So his backstory is one of my favorites in One Piece, obviously. Tom is one of the coolest characters ever. I had someone important in my life named Tom. Oh, I still do. I just don't talk to that person anymore. But without that Tom, I would not have my wife. So, thanks. But remembering Tom, something that Frankie would love to do. One more second. Remembering Tom, I think, would be very easy for Frankie. You know, he's the crybaby of the Straw Hats, so I think, obviously, he's going to immediately pull out the, oh, man, Tom, if only I could have you here and see how far I've gotten. Look at the 1,000 Sunny, you know, all that stuff. But then I think he would get serious, and maybe like only Brooke and Robin would be there for that moment, you know, long after the party has ended and Luffy and Nami and Sanji are passed out drunk as hell, and Zoro's in the corner drinking inexplicably still. And then, you know, you always get the adults together. And I always like that moment at the end of Zo, just those adults reminiscing on, you know, shit. But Robin, Brooke, Frankie, and Jinbei, I would love that, to have a moment to pick Frankie's brain about that during the Dia de los Muertos situation and just talk about, hey, you know, what did Tom teach you? What convinced you to turn into a cyborg? Because I think the answer would be Tom. You know, live life with a gusto, ha ha ha, and all that good stuff. I think Frankie would have some of the more intelligent lines. You know, people say Egghead Island wasn't Frankie's arc, but if you were to like tally up everyone being a freaking badass, I think Frankie takes it. So, you know, if you want to argue that, don't include Luffy in that conversation, by the way. But Frankie mourning the loss of Tom, I think that would be a very cool and special scene. I don't think it would hit too hard with a lot of people, but for those it does hit for, I think it would actually hit very hard. I think, you know, we would get a lot of focus on the Mary and the Sunny. Maybe not necessarily like Frankie's connection to the Mary, but the fact that like that ship in the Club Outerman, like that shit is real, you know? That is something tangible to shipwrights. And being able to talk to Tom about that, I think we would get some juicy lore, right? Because Frankie, there's no way Frankie just doesn't have all these, a bunch of answers that he just hasn't talked about yet. Same with Brooke. And now we know Robin confirmed at the end of Wano. But to pick the adult's brain, it would be great. Especially, you know, knowing how the situation ended. I would love Robin's reaction to, and Brooke even, and Jinbei, especially Jinbei actually, to know how Frankie's hand in Tom's downfall happened, and not necessarily that it's Frankie's fault, but more so that like his own creations hit Tom and, you know, this and that. I think that would go ham, and that would be a really awesome and emotional, heart-tugging scene right there. And then we have Nami and Belmare. Belmare's easily one of the most tragic deaths in One Piece, hands down. I mean, having to give up her life just so that her daughters could live, but not only that, like, that is then her only moment to really declare that they are, in fact, a family. Oof. It hurts. It doesn't make it any easier in the live action. I think it's one of the few things that the live action did brutally perfect, you know? It was too good. So good job on the live action. But I think Nami having a moment of remembrance for Belmare, you know, obviously that would be hardcore, but I also don't anticipate, we've actually seen Nami do this already in both the live action and the anime, but I think now, further along in her journey, I think she would get a little choked up and homesick, which we haven't really seen anyone get homesick yet, I don't think, other than Robin, which, you know, that's just not fair. Her home's literally non-existent anymore, but I think that would be a really cool thing to explore. Nami having to, you know, chart the world, but she misses home still. Who wouldn't, you know? And those are things like that, little stuff, little anecdotes, if you will, side stories, side quests. That would be cool. I know we don't really need those right now with the way One Piece is paced and how we're expecting this and that, but I think it's nice to go ahead and remember characters that impacted our favorite characters. The deaths that made you cry, made me cry. Maybe they didn't make you cry, but if you go back, they might. So try it. But damn, you know, Oda can really write an impactful, heart-stringing death. And nothing hurts more than Pedro for me. But for some other, it might be Tom, it might be Belmare, it might be Ace, right? But this is only part one of the Remembrance video. And tomorrow I will have a much longer and more thorough video for more characters. Like, I will have a long part about Izo. He is one of the deaths that really hurts me in One Piece. But without going too long, thank you all for watching. Light a candle, turn off the lights, and just think about your fallen homies, your parents, if they've passed away early, or, you know, for me, my grandparents and my best friend. Just remember them and let them know you still love them and think about them. I've been Merch Hunter Ricky. Thanks for watching.